go? First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for joining the inaugural State of South Jersey that's hosted by myself, Assemblyman Antoine McClellan and Assemblyman Eric Simonson. Good afternoon. Our state, our legislative district, and our community has faced one of the toughest years during the COVID-19 pandemic and the repercussions of the state shutdown. For nearly 1 year, our neighbors, our friends, our families, our local businesses have stood together to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. During the pandemic, our legislative district has accounted for less than 3% of all COVID-19 cases in the state. And despite the fact that we've accounted for less than 3% of all COVID-19 cases, we were treated like the rest of the state of New Jersey with a blanket approach. Our governor has stated on multiple occasions that he was going to take a surgical approach. I have openly criticized our governor in saying that he did not take a surgical approach because in a surgical approach, one uses a scalpel, not an axe or a meat cleaver. For the members of the community that we did in fact lose to this horrible disease, we extend our most sincere condolences and we stand with their friends and family members. Today, as I stated before, we are joined with my assembly mates, Assemblyman Eric Simonson and Assemblyman Antoine McClellan. We want to discuss the impacts and the everlasting impacts of COVID-19 and what this disease has had on our community, and to hear the real world experiences. As an educator, Assemblyman Simonson has seen the ways school systems have adapted to the pandemic and ways to get children back into our classrooms. He has also experienced the sundry of shortfalls that our educational system has had because of COVID-19. While working for the Cape May County Sheriff, Assemblyman McClellan has seen firsthand the correct ways to ensure that a jail system does not become a COVID-19 hot zone and a super spreader event. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, myself, Eric, and Antoine have wholeheartedly disagreed with the governor's blanket approach in handling this outbreak, the ensuing shutdown, and the economic impacts to our residents, their businesses, and their family members. During this time, we have continuously fought for the residents and the businesses of the first legislative district, and we will continue to do so. That is our promise. We make promises and we keep promises. I'd like to turn this discussion over to my very good friend, Assemblyman Eric Simonson. Assemblyman Simonson, are you there? Assemblyman McClellan, I'm going to turn it over to you, my friend.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Senator. I really appreciate it. And hello, everybody. It's quite interesting as we approach a year after taking the oath. We stepped into that we didn't expect. So at this point in time, when we were going to come in and be able to establish the things that we were running on, we got hit with COVID-19, and then we had to completely change gears and turn and making sure that we take care of our constituents throughout the district. And wholeheartedly, I think we did a great job at doing that. Senator Testa has led the way and followed suit with making sure that we talk to all the elected officials and equally take their concerns up Trenton and see what we can do. We make sure we talk to all our and make sure we brought our concerns back to either if it was unemployment, even if it was the small businesses that weren't being heard here in Cape May County and in Cumberland County, and things of that nature. We ran throughout the summer here in Cape May County, and we had a great team that tried to make do with what the governor was issuing down on us and not listening to us and not listening to the and not listening of Cape May or Cumberland County. So we brought the fight to Trenton. We're going to continue to bring the fight to Trenton. And led by Senator Testa, myself, and Assemblyman Simonson, we're going to try to do the proper thing to do for our legislative district and let them know down here in legislative district 1, we're not being heard. So we're going to continue to fight the fight. as 2021 approaches, and the summer of 2021 is going to be a great summer. I'm going to go out and on a limb and say that. Senator Testa and Assemblyman Simonson and myself, we're going to be out eating pizzas and drinking beers and eating ice cream throughout the summer and enjoying Cape County and Cumberland County the proper way and what we're supposed to be doing. The businesses are going to get back on track, and we're not going to let the government hold us back, let a little COVID hold us back. We're going to survive, and we're going to continue with the God's blessing to make sure that everything is done properly. So I'll turn that back to Senator Testa. I'm not sure if Assemblyman Simonson is able to get on yet, and he might be struggling with his communications.
Assemblyman Simonson, from your lips to God's ears, that you and I get, you, myself, and Assemblyman Simonson get to enjoy our wonderful boardwalks and our beaches and boardwalk pizza and an adult beverage. We certainly need to get back to normal, not the new normal that we've been hearing about for so many months. You know, it's interesting that this 14-day period has now turned into how many months? You know, it's disturbing to me, and especially so for Cape May County, that during the summer of 2020, we accounted for less than 2% of all cases in the state of New Jersey. Yet we had shut down so many of our businesses in Cape May County, and we certainly hope and pray that those businesses are able to return for this 2021 because they face such an economic struggle unnecessarily. And I want everybody to think of hundreds of thousands of visitors to Cape May County. Even during a pandemic, we accounted for less than 2% of all cases in the state of New Jersey. And that shows that our businesses in Cape May County, in Cumberland County, in that sliver of Atlantic County that we represent, were able to do things that way. They were able to social distance. They protected their employees. They protected their patrons away, and yet still punished by an overzealous governor who was shutting our businesses down. And let's keep in mind, Cape May County sends $550 million a year in tourism tax dollars to Trenton to get very little back. So Trenton certainly likes to take the money from our district, but yet did not allow us to thrive and survive the summer of 2020 and the rest of the vacation season. I had an additional couple of months of really good weather for people to enjoy Cape May County, so the businesses were able to adapt and hopefully survive so that they can thrive in 2020. I'm hoping that Assemblyman Simonson is now on. I'm getting a notification that he is. I will now turn this over to Assemblyman Eric Simon. Assemblyman Simonson.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Had some technical difficulties there. So were you covering that for me, Senator?
I absolutely was, Simon. I was. That's okay, though. We're a team, brother.
I appreciate it. That's what teamwork is. Yeah. Just for those that don't know me real quick, I know some of you do, and I will be brief. Obviously, I'm your assemblyman for Legislative District 1, but before that was mayor of Lower Township, as well as councilman for some years. Very in tune with the local municipalities. Grew up down here my whole life. Graduated from Lower Cape May, which is where I now work as an athletic director. I've been in education for 30 years as a teacher, special needs teacher, as a supervisor, vice principal, and like I said, now athletic director. Did my College of New Jersey and my master's at the University of Scranton in education administration, and my special ed degree through Rutgers postgraduate. Also a deacon at Macedonia Baptist Church, and have been involved in community organizations, including the NAACP, Faces for Autism, Teaching Tolerance Through the Arts, et cetera, et cetera. And I am very concerned about our legislative district. And the one thing that we always say, and I hope I'm not repeating anyone before me, but we're very different down here, and our way of life is different. Whether it's the education system, which is very good. We're blessed to have a very successful junior college. I'm glad they finally did a satellite right in Cape McQueen House for ACCC, as well as our tourism business, our restaurants, our fishing industries. And, I always say we're blessed. We have beaches on both sides. We have the ocean as well as the bay. And, these business owners and individuals, I know what it's like being in the role that we're in. I can only imagine being the governor of a state, especially such as New Jersey. But the buck stops there, and we're the highest tax state in the country. And we're running businesses out of New Jersey, and they're seeking shelter in other places, and it's got to stop. And we have to. It starts here at our legislative office, and we have to protect those around us and our constituents in Legislative District 1. So I'm anxious to hear your needs and your concerns. I'm an optimist, so I want to hear some positives as well. But I know as an educator, we've been fortunate enough to keep the kids in school at least 2 days a week, and it's been successful. But it's not enough. We need to be back in school full time. These kids are suffering, and I'm going to leave it at that. And I'll shut up now. So thanks for listening, and I'm here for any questions, and I'm here to listen as well.
Thank you so much, Assemblyman Simonson. At this time, I'd really like to introduce our panelists and hear their thoughts on the pandemic response and state shutdown. And this is in no particular order. Dr. Jim Farrell owns 2 motels. Mr. Robert Armstrong with Motor Vehicle Commission issues. Mr. Tom Romanello from Easter Seals. Dan Morey, Pastor Harris, and Pastor Moises Rivera. And if we could just start at the top of the list, I'd like to start with Dr. Jim Farrell. Are you on, sir? Dr. Farrell? Maybe experiencing some technical difficulties. We'll move on to Mr. Robert Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong. Are you on, sir?
They may have to be unmuted from
he has to unmute. He's got to unmute.
How's that?
Better.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Mr. Armstrong, I can hear you now perfectly. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
Doing the best that we possibly can, sir. I understand that you were experiencing issues with the Motor Vehicle Commission, as that's yet another failure of the Murphy administration during this time. If you'd like to talk about that, we'd really like to hear your voice on this.
Sure. And I want to thank all your office and the others for your continuous response to my concerns. It's a simple matter, but I thought I was isolated when it occurred, but I'm also work for the Avalon Police Department as a special law enforcement officer, Marine Division Class 1 during the summer, and I had frequently stopped boaters who were concerned about not getting their registrations, not getting information back on their registrations, not having up-to-date registrations, and doing some research found out that the motor vehicle agencies had, due to the COVID, had staffing problems and other things going on. Understood that, felt their pain, if you will. And my own boat is what they call Coast Guard documented vessel. It is a decommissioned military boat, 25 foot. when I first purchased, I had to go to the DMV down in Breakwater and have it titled and registered. Well, a Coast Guard documented vessel doesn't get a state title. The Coast Guard document is the federal title for the boat. So, got my registration at that point. Never once said you have to do this in person every year. You have to go through this process every year. Well, my registration ran out in June. When I started in June researching, I actually showed up at Breakwater and was turned away saying, we don't do registrations anymore here. You have to go to, and he gave me a list of agencies, all of which were north of Atlantic City, if you will, north and west of Atlantic City. And in fact, came to find out there are 6 counties in the South Jersey area that no longer do registration title work on vehicles, including boats. And the agencies north of here, the closest one was an hour and 15 minutes. Well, starting in June and starting making phone calls to find out from DMV what could be done, how this could be eliminated because of the virus and because of other things, the continuous response was, you have to do this in person. Well, after speaking to their supervisors and so forth, I was finally able to, and made several attempts, and I mean attempts, in getting in my car at 5 o'clock in the morning, starting to drive and monitoring the websites, and find out that they were closed. When I got halfway there, they closed down to any new visitors, so I would have to turn around. Wasted several trips in doing that. Finally was moved to making an appointment. My appointment was last week. Okay, I had to go up to Medford to do this, re-register my vessel. Now, you'd think, given the fact that I had to be there in person, that this must be a very significant process or matter. Well, an hour and 15-minute ride plus tolls. Had to be there by 15 minutes ahead of time. When I arrived, the building was not very large. It was in a strip mall type center, and met by an armed guard out front who took my name off a list and said, go on in. And you could not social distance in that room, in that area, safely. Got to the counter, I told them I was there to re-register my boat, and they proceeded to hand me a card, the exact same card that you get in the mail when you're re-registering your vehicle. The exact same card I've gotten for years in the mail when I registered my boats, and I've been boating in South Jersey for 50 years. Filled out the card, was told to take a seat, of which there was none, and then my number would be called. Went to the counter, presented the card. The individual looked at it and said, why are you here? I said, to re-register my Coast Guard documented vessel. She says, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, get your supervisor. Supervisor came over, and she said, did something on the computer and said, oh, there's a hold on your boat. I said, I explained, said, I'm aware of that. That's why I'm here, because you have to make a phone call to lift the hold so that I can get my registration, and then you put the hold back on. And this was told to me by the supervisors in Trenton. The hold is the fact that they believe, and it's their belief, that the state of New Jersey holds the title on my vessel. That's absolutely not true. The title is mine. It is under the federal government, and New Jersey doesn't have a hold on it. I do. So long story short, 5 minutes of back and forth. Never once did they ask me for a copy of the document, of the Coast Guard document, which is what really shows who's the owner of the boat. Did not ask me for any information until the very end, when she said, can I have a copy of your driver's license? $28 and a check, 5 minutes of back and forth. I was out the door with my tags in hand to make another hour and 15-minute drive back. Now, I don't understand why, one, the state could afford to go 6 months without getting the revenue. Two, why they couldn't have saved everyone time and money by putting it in the mail, having me fill out the exact same thing, give them a copy of my driver's license if that's what they wanted, and then have the information returned to me through the U.S. Postal Service or through the internet. And lastly, what I don't understand is the fact that if we are supposedly fighting this virus by social distancing, by protecting ourselves with masks, by keeping by not congregating in large areas, if you shut down areas in South Jersey and force people to go into a more congregate area like Middle Jersey, North Jersey, you are not helping matters, you're hurting matters. And I felt very, I'm a healthcare professional. I've been a nurse for over 40 years. I currently give the vaccines for Cape May County as a volunteer in Cape May County. I currently give out the vaccines for the virus. So I'm well aware of what the issues are surrounding it. And having to think about going into a congregate setting like that and to fill out a piece of paper, it's crazy. Like I said, I appreciate all the work you guys have done. I know there's an assembly bill out there, 4800, supposedly in front of the Transportation Committee, or getting to the Transportation Committee at some point when they decide to convene. And I think it's highly important that every county have an area that can do full DMV work. Now, it's maybe just one case with the boat, but I have many connections, and this discussion has come up, and I could give you over 10 people right now who said, yeah, I bought a car, haven't gotten it titled yet. Yeah, I bought a boat, haven't gotten it titled yet. Why? Well, because they don't do it in breakwater anymore. And I'm not traveling. I'm not doing whatever. Well, that's a lot of tax dollars and revenue that's lost in a state that says they can't afford to lose funding. My problem, it might be a small one, but it smacks in the face of how South Jersey, particularly in Cape May, Cumberland counties, are forgotten.
Mr. Armstrong, if I may interject just very briefly, your story is one of hundreds that we've heard, and I can tell you that, the Motor Vehicle Commission that's in Vineland, New Jersey is around the corner from my law office. And I was, driving by with my chief of staff at one point in time, and there was a line around the building where people were not social distancing in their line. They certainly could not have been social distancing inside that building. And this was going on for weeks at a time. And yet here we were, big box stores were open. The Motor Vehicle Commission was open, but you weren't allowed to, you had such limited dining capacity in every restaurant. You weren't able to congregate at that time. I don't believe you were able to congregate in your place of worship. So many places of businesses at the shore were given such restrictions. It wasn't cost effective for them to be even open in reality. We weren't allowed to vote in person, but yet the Motor Vehicle Commission, as you stated, people were congregated without being able to socially distance whatsoever. They were there for hours at a time. People were getting to Motor Vehicle Commission 2 hours prior to them opening and waiting in line for 4 hours or more. And I'd really like to hear, Assemblyman McClellan's take on this issue, because I know he has a lot to say about it. Assemblyman McClellan, if you can, please.
Mr. Armstrong, first, thank you for your volunteerism with giving up those shots in Avalon.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much for that. And believe me, we've heard the cry down here, especially down here in Cape May County. We know how long those lines were and how long the people had to drive to go and possibly not even getting seen or heard. So, and thank you for mentioning Bill 4800 that myself and Assemblyman Simonson have co-sponsored to move forward to make sure that there is a motor vehicle agency that's doing licensing in every county. And nobody should have to drive 2 hours, 3 hours just to go for basic paperwork. You can start doing stuff online and things of that nature. These things should have been thought about a long time ago. We have the technology. We need to start using the technology. We shouldn't have to come in less than, 8 or 9 months and create legislation that's for things that should already be happening. And so, I apologize, and I'm sorry for you and all those people that had to deal with those motor vehicle issues. And I know Assemblyman Simonson has been dealing with motor vehicle issues himself, and it's just ridiculous. So hopefully we'll bring this bill forward. And there won't be any other problems like this in the future. But it's just sad that, 7 or 8 months down, we have to create legislation for certain things that should have already been in existence. And we've learned that as a legislative team, and we're going to continue to do that and bring that forward and fight for our district and fight for, other people in the state also, because they've had the same problems. They have to travel 2-3 hours, and pretty much you're looking at your people are camping out, 8 and 9 hours to go get a driver's license or things that shouldn't be happening. So hopefully this legislation will help change that, and we can continue to move forward. But thank you very much for your efforts.
I appreciate that, sir. Just one last comment. It's like the governor's office, if you will, if this is where it's coming from, has thrown the baby out with the bathwater. You shut it down in these areas because of this is what's been posted and what's said, because of the COVID virus. Yet you force people to go into an area or into areas where the COVID virus, as Senator Testa has mentioned, from the lowest area in the state to some of the highest areas in the country, if not just the state, if not in the country. And the second thing is that, down here is a large, with the beaches, as you point out, and the bays, a very large boating industry. A lot of vacation areas, a lot of people come and jet ski and so forth, where revenue is generated by titles, by registration, by licensing. You would think that they would be focused on generating that revenue in areas like this by having resources like a fully operational DMV to help the overall state budget. Instead, they decided for whatever reasons, or he decided for whatever reasons, to eliminate that service down here, and it has not only impacted the individual like myself, has made guys like you focus on something like this, and maybe where there's a lot more important things out there to do, and lost money in all at the same time. So I don't understand it, and I hope that somebody up there at the transportation committee or at the governor's office wakes the hell up. Gets to the point of recognizing that their policies, particularly in areas like the Motor Vehicle Commission, are antiquated and outdated, and it's not necessary to follow the same path they've done for years.
Mr. Armstrong, I don't want to cut you off, but and you said it absolutely. I mean, that's something that our legislative office had to deal with. Where so many issues with the Motor Vehicle Commission, as well as helping over 4,000 individuals with their unemployment. Yet we became sort of the satellite office for the unemployment office, which really put a great burden on our staff. And I want to commend our excellent staff who were able to handle all of those issues. And luckily we have such a big staff because we are united in one office. I'd really like to turn to the next person. And that's, a friend of mine, Dennis Roberts, who owns the Bellevue Tavern in Middle Township. Obviously we frequent that place pretty often because our legislative office is down the street. But Dennis, if you're there, I'd really like to ask you as a business owner, how you've adapted to the virus and how you've been able to survive and thrive during the era of COVID-19.
Thank you, Senator Testa. Thank you, Assemblyman Simonson and McClellan, for putting this together. I would say that the biggest thing that we had to do was pivot on the fly. We were coming off of January and February that were fantastic here in Cape May County. We had great weather. We had lots of visitors. And then it stopped on March 16th. So, unfortunately, the COVID situation, no one could plan for. But the most disappointing part of the entire shutdown was what you said earlier, Senator Testa, which was Cape May County, with the smallest cases in the entire state, was not treated as the rest of the state. We were treated the same as Bergen County when, in fact, our numbers were so low that we could have been open. So I think the biggest challenge for restaurants in general was, number one, keeping your employees paid and fed. Number two, everyone had to pivot to a takeout only model, which is what we did. And then lack of indoor dining till September was really tough. Thankfully, the legislation and the local municipality here in Middle Township allowed us to expand our outdoor footprint, which was a big help. So, of course, now that it's 30 degrees out, the outdoor dining isn't really helping. So, whatever you can do in Trenton to help the restaurants, I know there's some bills pending now that hopefully will get some attention, is greatly will greatly help us. So I would say that
Dennis,
not being able.
Dennis,
Go
if I
ahead.
could chime in, think about it. We had a bipartisan piece of legislation that was designed to help out your industry. It passed unanimously in both houses, which is something very rare in the state of New Jersey that I've come to learn in my, just year plus in the legislature. It passed unanimously in both houses, and the governor vetoed it. I mean, it just goes to show you how out of touch with reality that Governor Murphy is, especially with an industry that struggles to make ends meet during times, when they're thriving, let alone during the era of COVID-19. Governor Murphy continuously has stated that the data will drive the dates. Well, we provided the data. During the peak season in Cape May County, we had less than 2% of all cases in the state of New Jersey, yet the same restrictions, onerous restrictions, blanket approach applied to all of the businesses in Cape May County, which, let's face it, we have a seasonal economy in Cape May County. 5 months, those businesses have the ability to make their entire, lack of a better term, their entire nut for the year. And yet the governor didn't care. He placed the same blanket approach that he had for Cape May County as he did for what was a hotspot in North Jersey, such as Essex County, Passaic County. And it was just totally unfair and out of touch with the data. The data was not driving the dates.
Well, I hope as we move forward that some of these restrictions are eased. I know in my industry, people are responsible. People are trying to do the right thing. We're social distancing, we're sanitizing, we're making people feel comfortable. And don't forget, people are going to vote with their feet whether they want to attend a restaurant or attend church service or go to school. So there has to be some personal responsibility that the government can see that most businesses are doing this the right way. So I hope as we move forward, these restrictions are lifted as we get into the spring.
I apologize. Somehow I was on mute. I apologize there.
I think Brittany muted you.
Oh, that could have been. Who knows? But I look at it this way. Your sentiments have been carried to Trenton. Cape May County was at the forefront of creating a reopening plan for COVID-19. That plan that was adopted at the county level was also adopted by Atlantic County. It was slightly modified by the South Jersey Chamber of Commerce. They had a similar reopening plan for South Jersey. Those plans all made sense. They were all data driven, and they were given to the governor back in May of 2020. And they've languished on the desk of the governor's office since May of 2020. And it's absolutely unfortunate. But I do want to move on, Dennis.
Thank you.
Dr. Jim Farrell is on. Dr. Farrell, I know that you're on now. I know that you own 2 motels. I'd really like to hear your thoughts on how you've dealt with the regulations from the state, the lack of a full summer season, and whether you had the ability or inability to navigate all of those programs and regulations in order to keep your business alive. Dr. Farrell, if you're there. Dr. Farrell, you need to unmute yourself. Dr. Farrell. This is the modern era that we're living in with COVID-19 and Zoom. Dr. Farrell, there should be a button up in your right-hand corner that's a blue box that says mute or unmute. If you could do that, that would be wonderful. If I don't hear from you, sir, I'm going to have to move on to a different individual. Pastor Harris, are you on? Can you hear me? Pastor Harris? Okay. Dan Money, are you on? Dan. Tom Romanello, are you still on?
Yes, Tom Romanello. Can you hear me, Senator Testa?
I can hear you. I'm only batting, a little over 300 in the major leagues. That's really good, but here it's not that good. I really like to talk about the lack of quality assistance for special needs
Yes.
in the disabled residents of the state. I know that's been, these individuals have been left in the dust, but I'd really like to hear you discuss this issue. And Assemblyman Simonson, please chime in.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for giving us a voice and sharing the challenges brought on in this past year caring for our disabled son. But I speak not only for him today, but for the 30 plus individuals who have lost their services for their day programs, specifically Easter Seals in Rio Grande, Cape May County. This Easter Seal program has been a vital part of our son's daily routine for the past 13 years. Given all the circumstances of this past year, it was decided by corporate to close the brick and mortar location in Rio Grande. A new program, supposedly called Community Inclusion, is supposed to start in 2021. To date, despite our many efforts to communicate with Easter Seals corporate, we have not heard or seen any details outlining this new proposed endeavor, nor have we ever been contacted by anyone from corporate. We are requesting our legislators to continue to pursue Easter Seals corporate to obtain an outline of this new program, and also encourage them to open up as soon as they get the green light, of course, from DD. After all this time has elapsed, certainly this should be attainable. We do, however, have concerns about the new program parameters and would like to discuss them with whoever is willing to listen. Again, many thanks to Mr. Donahue and our freeholders and our legislators for this forum and for following up with our concerns. And actually, Assemblyman Antoine McClellan, I know you were actually down at that facility, and we realized it was not that big of a facility, but with that now closed, there's going to be a big gap there for our special need and disabled individuals. And that's our concern.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Assemblyman Simonson, do you have any thoughts on those issues?
I do, and I feel for you. Again, I was a special needs teacher at Cape May County Special Services for 18 years. I also ran our in-school youth program and took many of the students who are now adults to these Easter Seals. At one point, there was one right there by the school, which became the diagnostic center. They moved to Rio Grande. And I've actually received calls from parents of students that I taught that are now adults. And I guess they changed they closed down that facility, and the new program is called Community Inclusion, which is ironic because they are excluding certain individuals with special needs. So we are working on that. I know Assemblyman McClellan and I have a meeting tomorrow, and I have a whole list of numbers in front of me. I also have been in contact with Rose Cupriana, who I know very well.
Yes.
Is a huge advocate. Crenny D'Antonio as well, and the list goes on. So, and along with that, and I'll make it brief because I know we have other people that need to get on here. Right now, our staff, our district legislative district 1 staff, is working on a list, a master list of resources for special needs children and adults throughout Cape May, Cumberland, and Atlantic County, so that we have a menu of different facilities and, like I said, resources for people like yourself and others, depending on the disability, the severity of the disability, the age, and et cetera, et cetera. So we are on top of it, and we are going to, like I said, we have meetings tomorrow. We will be in contact with you as well to let you know the progress that we're making. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you all very much. Thank you for your concerns.
Pastor Rivera, are you on, sir? Listen, I know I want to thank you for all the great work that you've done for years with the Salvation Army. I'd really like to hear your voice on how the ways the Salvation Army has helped families during the pandemic, if you will, sir, please.
Thank you for having us here, this forum. I appreciate it. Well, before we dive into how we're helping people during the pandemic, I'd like to just give you a little bit of stats, if I will, regarding the work that we were doing prior to the pandemic. We went from distributing 4,160 boxes of food that equates to 36,400 meals a year to 71,887 boxes equates to 629,144 meals from the month of March 16th to November. So the numbers are staggering. We've done a lot of feeding because the common factor, the COVID-19 has placed people in unemployment. People have lost their jobs. They have no money. They're forced to decide whether or not they're going to pay a bill or place food on the table. And it's so surreal, all the things that our deserving family in our community are going through. Now, part of the individuals that we serve are pretty much from the Cumberland County, minus Bridgeton, because we have a Salvation Army there in Bridgeton. We have an outpost or a service unit extension over in Buena. But we serve Melville, Buena, Port Norris, Violin, and so the list goes on with regards to individuals that have come. Just to put things into perspective, people who once had a job are now driving their good-looking car through the line just to get a box of meal, and they feel embarrassed a little bit. I tell them, listen, we're all in this together. We're facing the same thing, and so don't feel embarrassed. We're here to help. So in addition to that, this past Christmas, we've provided 4,896 toys to some 1,632 children for the as far as part of our Christmas assistance to the families. And lastly, I would like to share that the Turkey Drive Committee has generated some income so that we were able to purchase and provide the serving families. We distributed 1,100 turkeys this past Thanksgiving. And so, I mean, the list goes on. We distributed coats. We've helped people with rental assistance, mortgages, utilities. So it's 2020. What can we say? Prior to that, all the programs were, we were serving about 40 to 60 individuals on a Monday and a Friday, and we went from that to a couple of hundred, slightly over 500 a week. It's significant. And so that's what the Salvation Army is doing here locally in the Cumberland County. But the truth is that in the whole state of New Jersey, there's a similar story throughout the whole state of New Jersey. And so the numbers I don't have those figures and those numbers, but if you were to interview any of the other commanding officers of the Salvation Army throughout, you will hear similar stories. And so that we're just trying to do our little bit here in Cumberland County.
Thank you so much, Pastor Rivera. I wanted to just give kudos to, again, our staff and you, because we had a volunteer of yours who reached out to our office for unemployment benefits. And it was a simple mistake of clicking on the statement that that individual had a pension. And it was an honest mistake that caught him in the cycle of not receiving benefits that were much needed. And, I want to give kudos to you as well, because it was through your team and working with my office that we were able to alert the New Jersey Department of Labor on this issue. And it's just a story of, one of the thousands of individuals that we've helped out in my office, and some of the people that were, just so frustrated because they either did something incorrect by accident or through their frustration of not hearing back from the Department of Labor for weeks and weeks, they would resubmit. So they would get a different number or have a second claim out there. And it was really very frustrating because these individuals were just waiting to hear back about the status of their much needed benefits. And it was obviously a system that they paid into for years, possibly. So I just wanted to thank you for referring that individual that's volunteers for you. We were able to help that individual. And I want to ask you, what is the best way that the people who are watching today and or my office, what's the best way that we can help the Salvation Army this upcoming year?
One of the challenges is basically keeping our lights on. There's a lot of expenses associated with serving people in our community. In all reality, the community has come together in a wonderful way. I mean, I can't say no more. This community has a good heart. We have a lot of vendors that come together. If I can just mention a few, you have the Walmart, and you have the ShopRite with Tino's, and you have the Acme's and BJ's and Sam's and so forth. So coming together to provide the food and the gift in kind so that we continue to serve the people is there. Financially, support is sporadic, to say the least. So if people can just consider just thinking about a financial way that they can support the Salvation Army, whether it be here or abroad, that will continue to keep the doors open and continue for us to serve the individuals that comes through our office to be able to get the assistance that they are seeking. And so that's basically one of the major needs for the Salvation Army.
And Pastor, the pandemic has brought out the worst and the best in the people, of our state, our legislative district, and our country. Obviously, I'd like to focus on the people that it's brought out the best in, because I can tell you it's wonderful to see the communities come together to help each other out. Our hat goes off to you for all that you do for the Salvation Army. Sort of to wrap things up, because I don't believe that we have any additional time for any others that are on. Is Dr. Farrell available yet? Is he on? Dr. Farrell?
I know that Dr. Gaba is on the community college.
Okay.
Money.
Well, and Mr. Money, there you are.
Yes, I'm here, but I'm here, but I'm just one trustee on the board. I tried to get Dr. Gaba to connect. Hopefully she's on, but I could tell you that we're blessed to have, and I'm a person who really compliments people who do a great job. Dr. Gaba, who is a tough fighter for our community colleges in Atlantic and Cape May County. And, that comes as a result of the experience that each one of the students at our school, who may be parents, who may be students who are living on their own. And because of the finances and the support, it comes from the federal government to the state and to the counties. We've been able to help maintain many of our students, many of our programs, and of course, everything now is virtual, and I can appreciate that. And so these are very unique times. And as we go forward, working together, one it's important that we come together and lean on each other as we progress, because eventually, our scientists and our doctors will get this thing taken care of, and then it's up to us individually to take advantage of the challenges that are taking place in the community. And each one of our agencies that you have represented here are doing a great job, and they really rely heavily on you and Eric and that's my best buddy. I can't remember his name, Antoine. Because that brings everything together. None of us can do this alone. We all will do it together, and successfully we'll get as much as we can out of this experience and grow better, grow stronger together as a community in the southernmost tip of the best state of New Jersey. Thank you very much. Is Dr. Gaba on?
Yes, I'm on.
Go ahead, Dr. Gaba. You got it. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Dr. Gaba, I would love to hear, the impact that COVID-19 has had on your students and the difficulties of dealing with the inability to both teach and learn in person. So
Okay, we've all had challenges and we've all had to adapt to the situation. And we had to pivot very, very quickly to go to doing things remotely to get people off of campus. And it's created a lot of challenges for us. But fortunately, we've been able to continue the continuity of the college, our business operations, and our academic operations. I should say that many of our students are struggling with life issues, as you mentioned, trying to put food on the table, paying the rent, so on and so forth. But through the CARES Act, we have been able to provide grants to students. And to date, we've provided over $2 million to about 1,800 students to help them with their day-to-day living expenses. And this has been very, very important. We have activated our food pantry banks to help students with food. We did a Thanksgiving turkey in the basket, whereby students were able to come up and get a complete turkey dinner. So we've been able to continue to support our students. We've gone remote to keep people off of campus so that we can mitigate against the virus. We are continuing to meet students via Zoom, and this is working out very, very well for us. Again, Senator Testa, I want to thank you for all of your support, and Assemblyman Simonson and McClellan regarding the Free Community College legislation that's moving through to help our students, and many in our districts who have an income below $65,000 will be able and will be eligible to get the free tuition portion of this. So again, I thank you for your support of that. We just learned recently that in this new stimulus package that we will be getting additional funds to help students with their living expenses and so forth due to the impact of COVID-19.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Just wanted to add, like Dr. Gab spoke about, we did pass A 4410 in the Assembly as of yesterday. So
yes,
you'll be seeing it in the Senate shortly that codifies the Free County College Grant Program. So
that's wonderful.
We look forward to that. Thank you.
Because many of the students in our districts have the income level below 65,000 and need that extra support to help them to get to college. And again, once they start with us, we have many articulation agreements with Stockton, Rutgers, and other places to get them started in terms of economic mobility, and also to get them prepared to help to rebuild and to recover from COVID, because many of our programs are in the allied health sciences, nursing, EMT, and so forth, and firefighting, etc. We have the police academy at our campus, and these are all things that are needed in our district. So we really appreciate your support for that legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think we're coming to a close in this inaugural Zoom meeting. I really appreciate everyone who has attended. I would like to wrap things up for me, and then I'll turn it over to Assemblymen Simonson and McClellan for their parting words. I do want to say this: the state of New Jersey and our nation have gone through the toughest year, and certainly in my lifetime, from the pandemic that we've been facing since March of last year, to the horrific, unwarranted violence that we witnessed at the Capitol last week. I want to be very clear in my words. Any of those individuals that breached the Capitol last week, I absolutely condemn their actions. Their actions were not patriotic, they were idiotic. One thing I think we need to do, I look forward to bringing unity to our community and to focus on the issues that bind us rather than separate us. Hopefully we can grow together. Hopefully we can be safe. We can continue to enjoy healthy lives. And I rest assured that myself and the rest of our team are fighting together for a better future. And hopefully we're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel of this COVID-19 pandemic. I'd like to turn this over to Assemblyman Simonson for his parting words. I want to say thank you. God bless us all, and God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I see that Pastor Harris, are you still on? If you could unmute, I'd forego my words to hear from him on the churches. Are you there, Pastor?
I'm here. How are you?
Okay. Can you take a minute or two just to, I guess, give us your take on how it's affected your church in general? And I know I go there as well, and I know it's been a different path for you as a pastor. So go ahead.
All I have to say is I miss you in church. This whole pandemic thing and the way it was handled hurt a lot of churches. Some churches aren't going to be able to recover, but thank God that we are in a position where we are okay. But one of the things is, and before I got off earlier, I heard a lot of people talking about, you know, the limited number of people in an area, in a building, you know, and go, you know, and there's no, and when you get into the area like Mr. Armstrong was talking about, motor vehicles, restaurants, when you're able to control those type of things, I think that down here we were able to control those, and we were able to do everything, and we were going to be able to, you know, social distance in our house of worship. So it's kind of you know, one of those things where I know you guys are fighting hard. I know you talking to you and Assemblyman Antoine, that, you know, you guys heard the pain. You guys heard us. You sat in on a couple of calls with other pastors, you know, but there has to be a different way to attack this. I mean, you know, we're not going in, not, you know, trying to create a hotbed of COVID, not the COVIDness, but what we're trying to do is go in and worship in our house of God, and just, you know, allow the members to come in and just release themselves. Because if you think about it, we've been cooped up. We were cooped up for 9 months, and there was really no outlet unless you wanted to go to Walmart, and then you're able to do whatever you wanted to do in Walmart, you know, and shop, right, and those kind of things. But when it comes to the house of God, they really, you know, we were locked down into a position where we weren't able to open our doors until this weekend and this coming weekend. And this is one of the concerns that I guess a lot of pastors have. How can the numbers be limited to certain places, but open to others? And I think the church is a very needed place that needs to be open, and needs to, and you know, place your, you know, the pastors in charge, because, you know what, as pastors over the flock, we don't want to see anything happen to the members. So we're not going to do anything that's going to be outrageous. I mean, it's kind of like beating the same old drum. We're in South Jersey. We're not, you know, we're not in North Jersey where it's congested. So that you know, that's one of the things that, you know, some of the churches aren't going to be able to come back from this, and it's a shame. But like I said, I think you guys are doing an awesome job, and just keep on doing what you're doing, man. All of you.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Pastor. You know, that we've pointed out as a team the utter hypocrisy that's taken place since the initial shutdown. You know, think about it. You said we were all cooped up and you were able to go to Walmart or ShopRite, but you were also able to go to your liquor store or a marijuana dispensary, but you weren't able to attend your house of worship at that time. You know,
true.
We recognize that individuals' constitutional rights never get to be put aside, especially ad infinitum. You know, I think everybody was willing to hunker down and do the right thing for the initial 14 days that the governor said this was going to take place. Well, how many months ago was that? I mean, we're at the 9-month mark after the end of the 14 days. It's preposterous to think that, again, you're able to wait in line at the Motor Vehicle Commission. You're able to wait in line at Walmart, Home Depot, name your big box store, but you weren't able to attend your house of worship as you should be able to do and practice your First Amendment right to assembly. And look, you absolutely said it best, Pastor. What is a pastor's job to do? To lead their flock and to protect their flock, right? That's exactly what you would be willing to do with protections in place. The last thing you want to do is have your place of worship, your house of worship, be a hotbed for COVID-19 or a super spreader event. So thank you for what you're doing. We thank you for attending this initial Zoom.
And Senator, something you said from the beginning, you know, it's all about picking winners and losers, and how the heck do whatever religion, whether it's a synagogue, you know, or a mosque or a church. I mean, that should be first on the list for the winners. You know, we have issues with mental health and all that. I mean, my greatest source of counsel is in the church. And I know there are many, many Americans that feel the same way. So with that, I just want to thank everybody. I won't take up too much time. We had a great diverse panel today, which was awesome. And I'm going to pass it over to Assemblyman McClellan. So God bless everybody.
Thank you so much, Assemblyman Simon. I think Assemblyman McClellan had to go. So again, those were our parting words of our initial Zoom. We can't thank you enough. We're going to continue to fight. We made promises in the campaign in 2019, and we've kept those promises. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. Good luck to everyone, and we will get through this together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.